Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? I hope you are well. So, as promised, we are coming on to Facebook and YouTube every day this week up until the court case, because we do have the court case on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we need to get our message out there as much as possible. So for any of you that don't know who I am, my name's Lucia Thomas and I'm a member of Public Child Protection Wales. We've been campaigning against the RSC for over 2 years now, and we have now come to the point where there is a court case on the 15th and 16th of November, so that's next week. And we are really, we're excited. We are excited because we've got an amazing case, but of course we have got, we're quite anxious as well at the same time. So tonight, everyone, we're going to have a couple of guests. So, we don't get to meet a lot of our supporters, online. So I thought it would be really important to bring some people on who have been raising awareness in their own areas and also helping with the fundraiser. So first of all, I will bring on Sal. Hello, Sal. How are you doing?
Hi, Lucia. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, and thank you for coming on today. So,
it's my pleasure.
Sal, how did you just introduce a little bit about yourself first?
Well, my name is Salvatore Fileccia. I live in Cardiff, and I never really heard about this until I heard it from your group. I was just scrolling on Facebook and you were sort of appeared, and I got a little bit interested in your campaign, and I've been following you now for over 6 months. And basically, you're my only source of information, because I have not received anything from the schools with regards to this education. So I've recently inquired into this, and obviously they've confirmed that they're beginning to do this education, and I'm worried. I'm concerned because why do we need to teach children from age 3 about sexual education? I mean, this is totally unheard of. It's a worrying time, and also the things that I'm seeing from your campaign, that's already in place in certain parts of the UK, like Scotland and England. The material that they're showing, well, it's X-rated material, and they're going to compromise our children age 3 with this stuff. I mean, I'm sorry, but, as a parent, I don't think any parent is happy for their children to be, confused in this way and to be compromised. This is dangerous territory.
It's even just that word sex.
Exactly.
Even the word sex, sexuality. It shouldn't even come into the agenda. I've had 3-year-olds. My children are a little bit are older now. They're in their teenagers. But having a 3-year-old, the very thought of them having to go into a lesson and they're going, oh, this is a relationship and sexuality lesson. You think, no, the only relationships that children should be aware of at that age is family, mum, dad, nanny, nono, brothers, their friends, teachers.
Exactly.
That's all they need to know. They do not need to know anything else. So when they're talking about this thing about sexuality, and they need to be exploring their sexuality when they're, primary school, they do not need to. They don't.
And let's be honest, Lou. Exploring their sexuality shouldn't even come into the high school either, because in high school, you have to be 16 and over, isn't it? The age of consent. So exploring your sexuality can probably come in to the last year of school when the children reach the age of 16. They can maybe touch on this topic very briefly, but at the end of the day, they still need parental consent. The fact that there is no parental consent, or the parents cannot even, there is no parental opt-out into this sort of education, that very fact on its own from age 3 should be ringing alarm bells to every parent in the country. Absolutely. And the fact that parents are not alarmed is because there's no coverage. There's no mention of this. This hasn't come onto mainstream. Where is the coverage? What is going on?
This is exactly it. Mainstream media have been extremely silent about this. Even when we had, we did a press release on when, the judicial review. Now, it did gain a little bit of attention from mainstream. Like, we did see Kimberly was on, Jeremy Vine. There was a tiny, teeny little bit on the BBC, but it was very much, we actually counted because I filmed it. It was 23 seconds in the middle of all the headlines. Exactly. But it always reiterated the fact that the Welsh government say it's age appropriate, and that's how they always end it. So, and it was the same with the Jeremy Vine show. They had Kimberly up there with, when it was mining class, wasn't it? A very famous.
Yes, I saw that one. That was an interesting interview.
It was very interesting. And
it was one-way traffic. Yeah, exactly.
They gave mining class so much more airtime to Kim.
Exactly.
And then when they went to put it on the social media channels, they cut Kim out altogether. So
yes. So there is an agenda to keep this quiet and gently roll it out until parents have to deal with the consequences. Well, I think the general consensus of the parents is that they're not going to stand for this. This is not something you can just bring along and people will just accept, because, sorry, this is about moral conduct. This is about respect for human rights. And this is about protecting the mind of our little children and keeping them safe. So if whoever is pushing this, if they think that this is just going to roll around and go away, I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. This needs to be stamped out. It needs to be removed, and we need to safeguard our children. When they are age appropriate, then clearly they will make their own decisions in life, which way they go. But from age 3 to 16, this topic should be taboo.
Well, yeah, and this is the thing, I know in my own upbringing, and obviously, with my children as well, children need to be guided. It's
Correct.
Not about sort of controlling them. No, it's not about controlling them. You need to guide them. So by the time they are old enough to make their own decisions, they're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That is the way of the world. That's life. We all do make mistakes. But we do hope that by the time they are old enough to sort of go out in the big bad world and, make their own decisions, that you've instilled enough good values in them that they're not going to make any too horrendous mistakes, especially when it comes to sexual matters. We don't want children engaging in sexual activity when they're too young, when they're too immature to deal with it.
If they start teaching this at age 3, so then obviously children are children. They're going to want to explore. They're going to want to investigate, ask questions, get curious, and potentially be corrupted. Let's be honest. I mean, if you're showing them this at age 3, you're going to corrupt them, and then the fact that they're introducing this gender into it from age 3. I mean, a 3-year-old, if he starts to be told by teachers that he can be a boy or a girl, I'm sorry, what parent is going to be happy with that scenario from age 3? There's no parent that's going to say, oh, my little boy now wants to be a little girl. Oh, that's fine. It's absolutely normal. Well, at age 3, they can make decisions like that. I'm sorry.
Well, I actually did see on some of the paperwork with the Welsh government that it states that some people do decide on their gender identity as young as 2 or 3. I'm like, what are you talking about? My daughter wanted to be a dog when she was 3. She said, "No, exactly. Can I be a dog?" And it's like,
honestly, I mean, I don't even know how this has all come about. But clearly, we don't want this in the schools. This is not teaching children anything valuable. This is just going to confuse them, and they're going to have problems. You know, if they start learning stuff like this at such an early age, it's only going to bring problems to our children. It's going to corrupt the new generations to come. We're going to have a nightmare on our hands. And basically, do we want to live in this sort of world? Are we happy to live in this sort of world? I don't think so.
Well, we do know that this education has been in America in some of the states for decades, because there is a gent that comes to, well, he's always at our protests. His name is Pastor Tim. Now, he was fighting this education back in the 1990s, which goes to show how far back this education goes. Now, in America, this minute in time, there's 25,000 young people on the trans regret register. Now, that's 25,000 on the register. So you can imagine the amount of those suffering with trans regret is going to be a lot more than that, because they're not all going to, you know, sort of come forward onto the register. A lot of them will be suffering in silence. We do know there is a very high rate of suicide amongst the transgender community. They do try and make out that's because they're not accepted, but it is usually the case after they transition. Now, I've spoken to transsexuals, you know, sort of online, and there's a lot of them out there that are speaking out against this agenda and saying this is not for children. And, you know, the one I spoke to, his name is Matty. He's actually a part of Trans Against Groomers. They've got a big platform on Instagram. They've got a big platform, and I think on some of the other social media channels. And he actually stated because he changed from a girl to a man, and he did start it at 23. And he said he sort of like woke up a little bit when he got to 28 and sort of realized, you know, there was this sort of really weird agenda happening. Well, anyway, he said when he started the what are they called? The cross hormones, I can't remember the name, but you know, that the hormones to change over the he said he felt terrible. He said it was really weird. My whole personality changed.
Well, Lou, if you forgive me, I mean, we're playing with nature. You know, we're not doing anything natural here. You know, I mean, let's bring God into this. If God wanted you to change your sexuality, he would have made you either a girl or a boy. It's simple. I mean, obviously, as you get older, certain people have these issues. So I'm not saying that everything is straightforward. No one is saying that, because nothing is ever straightforward. But if you normalize this and you tell a child of 3 that he can be either a boy or a girl, this brings confusion. This is a very simple case of confusion. Once you reach a certain age and you have these, you know, you have these ideas and thoughts, well, then obviously you need help. You need help. If you're a boy and you think you're a girl, well, you know, I'll pray for you. You need help because there's something that you need help with. But you can't now generalize that the whole population can just be whatever they like.
No,
because you're compromising. Well, you're compromising nature's way, you know.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of the time as well, when you hear about these people who do transition, a lot of the times there is an underlying mental health issue going on. There's an underlying reason why they start to think that way. And what we're finding is a lot of these transgender clinics, they're not exploring those avenues before. They're just chucking them straight down the avenue of being trans, and it's so dangerous. Like, you know, there was the Tavistock clinic that got closed. Now, I do know that there was a very high percentage, if not 100% of the girls that would go there, the young girls who had autism. These girls didn't feel like they fitted in, which is usually a little bit an issue with autistic children, that they do sort of feel, you know, different, and you know, they don't fit in. So they ended up just chucking them straight down this affirming route rather than just getting to the root of why they were feeling that way. So it's a very, very dangerous agenda, and introducing it to schools. We know that 85% of primary schools they believe everything that their primary school teachers say. So by bringing it to primary school is extremely dangerous. And of course, we know, Sal, children's brains are very impressionable between the ages of
Exactly.
0
Well,
and
they're
7.
like little sponges. They absorb everything, don't they? At that age, they absorb everything, and it's very dangerous to confuse them. You know, as I keep saying, when you're old enough to understand, you make your own decisions. But when you're little and you're learning and you're a little sponge absorbing everything you're told, and then you start throwing things like gender, you can be a boy, a girl, a fish. Sorry, you know, there is a line we must not cross, and that is corrupting and confusing our little children. It's our duty to keep them safe. We cannot confuse our little children. If the schools start taking over and telling us that we have no right to look after our children, then the society as we know it is on its way to being collapsed.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Exactly. And if you corrupt the children, if you destroy childhoods, they're going to grow up
Yes,
as very confused and broken adults, and
exactly, exactly.
sort
And
of
then you're going to have a society of broken adults,
yeah,
correct? That they
yeah,
won't know what they are because when they were little, they were confused to hell and back. I'm sorry, not on my watch, and not on any parent that's got any moral standing for their kids.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's about now, because like, what are you finding, sort of in your area of like the response to this campaign?
The response in general, I would say, is I've handed out quite a lot of leaflets and I've spoken to a few people. So the response in general is lack of knowing. People don't know this is going on in the schools. Lack of understanding and a sort of a confused state. You know, the people don't really get it. They say, nah, this can't be right. So they're sort of skeptical. No, this is not right. You know, I can't believe that. So that sort of response. And then some people actually say, oh, I think that's okay. I think that's right. Because they don't think that there's any corruption involved. But my question to them was to the people that don't think there's anything wrong. I'm saying, so do you think it's right that a 3-year-old needs to be learning about sexual education? I mean, at the age of 3, do you think that's normal? They say, oh, I think that's perfectly right. I said, well, why would a 3-year-old need to know about sex? But they can't answer me. And they just say, I think it's okay because the government says it's fine. Basically, so they trust what the government is pushing. I'm sorry, I don't trust what the government is pushing anyway. And this agenda is nothing good.
No, absolutely. And this is the thing, I think people are blindly trusting this curriculum because, A, the government have passed it and they think the government want their best interests at heart. And secondly, they believe everything the schools tell them. Now, schools are being drip fed information. Not all schools. Some schools are being actually quite corrupt in this as well. But there are a lot of schools that are being drip fed. Because I went down with one particular lady to see her headmistress with her because she wanted someone to come with her. I didn't say who I was, just said I was a friend. And she was actually, the headmistress was writing down notes as I was explaining things. She had no idea that it had come from the World Health Organization, UNESCO. She didn't realize that. She had no idea. She didn't realize because the teacher with her was saying that, oh, it's nothing we haven't taught before. We've taught this for 10 years. The only difference is now there's no parental opt-out. And I said, hang on a minute. Education in the UK has always been based on abstinence. Now it's based on comprehensive sex education. And they are two completely different things. And that headmistress actually went away and researched all the points that I told her. And she did look really worried. So there are teachers out there that are decent.
I've spoken to some teachers as well, Lou, and a lot of the teachers have said to me that they're not comfortable. They would not be comfortable teaching this.
Yeah.
So that's the teachers now. A lot of teachers didn't even know this was coming in, and a lot of them, obviously, they haven't been teaching it yet because they're saying that they would not feel comfortable teaching it. But obviously, they know it's coming. So it's the teachers need to stand up and speak up for themselves and start saying, right, I'm not happy to teach this. So what am I doing? Am I looking for another job? Because that's what it's going to come down to. The
Well,
teachers need to make a stand as well.
Yeah, I know a couple of teachers who have actually turned in their job. They've resigned because they're like, I'm not teaching this. But the fear is now, the good teachers go, and who's going to replace them? We've got that issue then as well. So that's why we just need this education out. It needs to be children. Of course, children need education on. Like, I know this sex education as well. It's kind of under the guise of health and well. That's another thing that is being called in a lot of schools. Health and wellness, I do think it's a good idea that children are taught about, to remain a good mental health and healthy well-being. I believe in all that, but it needs to be taught properly. Sex doesn't need to come into it. We've got to talk to children about looking after themselves, respecting themselves, sort of appreciating who they are, not saying, oh, well, if you don't like the way you look, like, you'd never say to a girl, if a girl thought that she was, overweight and she wasn't, for example, which is a huge problem, especially with preteens and teenage girls. You would never say, they said, oh, I'm fat. You would never encourage them to lose. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, stop eating. You'd never encourage that. Yeah, why are they encouraging children that sort of think, oh, I think I'm born in the wrong body, to change their body? No, we get children to accept and love the person they are.
Exactly. And you also, in your talks, you were saying that schools have actually transitioned children without the parents knowing about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like the social transition, which is obviously it's the first part of putting them on that path to try to be
exactly. So I mean, do parents want this? Do the parents want their children to be altered by the system? I mean, I don't think any parent is ready for this. I don't think so.
And I do think there's a lot of parents out there that unless it happens to them,
they're not going to believe it,
or they're not even going to be bothered. They're just going to, as you said before, they're too busy in their everyday lives.
Yes, exactly.
It doesn't affect them. They're not going to stick their nose in, full stop.
Yes,
but the fact is,
until it affects them. Until it happens to their kids, then they'll start taking notice. Exactly. Yeah, we're in a very strange time, Lou, and all we need to do is put our foot down and say no to this. We're not happy about this. We don't want this. Leave our children alone. They need to learn the good values, good morals. Let them be children. Teach them what they need to learn. And then as adults, if they wish to explore and change their ways, that's up to them. Once they're an adult, obviously, everyone is free to do what they like. Up to a point still. You still have to have good behavior. Otherwise, you end up in prison. So you still have to have good moral values. It doesn't mean you become an adult and you go off the rails and do whatever you like, because there's still rules to follow. We live in a society that we all try to be the best that we can be, and always have to give an example to our children. So we, as adults, we need to be better, not worse.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
So that's
this is the issue I have as well with the, they seem to be bit by bit giving, children's rights above parental rights. Hang on. I believe in children's right when it comes to children protection and children's innocence. But when it comes to, a child can't just do what they want to do. If I said to my child, do you want sweets for lunch or this home cooked dinner?
Exactly.
They go for sweets all day long.
Of course they would. Of course they would.
And teach them, no, you eat your good food. We were talking before coming on really about sweets. It's okay to have sweets, but in moderation, to eat
exactly,
good food.
Exactly. So this is where a good parent comes into the scenario and says, you need to have a good balanced diet. Now, if the child has his rights, all of a sudden he can say, oh, well, now the world is different. So I can just eat sweets all day. Great. Exactly. So they're not going to be healthy, are they? They're going to have diabetes at age 10. So,
it's happy. Because
There is a
children
reason
now,
why children are children and parents are parents. Parents try to educate their children. They try to make them, safe, healthy, happy. The school is there to support the parent, and yes, there may be parents which are not doing a great job. Nobody's perfect, but this education from age 3, there's nothing good going to come from this. And if people
absolutely.
can't see this, then there's something wrong with them. It's as simple as that.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Now, Sal, change the subject slightly, talking about the fundraiser.
Yes.
Obviously, we have got the court case next week. We've got the 5 claimants going into court, but the court costs money, a lot of money.
Yes.
We have got
I
a
know.
target of 100,000. We are on about 54 and something thousand. So we've still got a long way off. However, there
Yes.
is still fundraising money coming in, which it is coming in. We are hopeful that we are going to make that mad sort of last minute sort of fundraising.
You're going to get 46,000. You're going to get 46,000 in a week. It's going to happen.
We certainly
Pray
are.
for it, believe in it, and it's going to come.
Absolutely.
We stay positive.
It will happen. It will happen. Or better still, we're going to win the case, and then they'll be paying the fees to us. So that's the best scenario.
Well, I can't see how we cannot win the case. I can't see how we cannot, because we're not asking for anything that's out of the ordinary. All we're asking the government is to protect our children. And to protect our children means they don't go anywhere near the subject of sex from age 3, because it's not appropriate for them. They're 3-year-olds. They don't need sex. So we're going to win. It's easy. We've already won. What judge is going to say, oh, yes, of course, a 3-year-old needs to know how to have sex? Sorry, there's no judge that's going to say that, is there?
Do you know what? If it doesn't work in our favor, then there's something seriously wrong in that, in the courts. But that is why we need public awareness, and we need everybody watching.
And this is why there has been no public awareness, because they don't want people knowing about it. But there's a lot of people that know now. Lots of people know about this now. And there's more and more people coming on board this campaign. So thanks to you guys, it's visible. It's become visible.
Yeah, it has. And, we have, I would sort of say, well, you said 6 months ago you met us, is it? You first come across our...
I think it's about 6 months, maybe a little bit more, but it's less than a year that I've known about this.
Yeah, because the first time I met you, I think it was at the Newport, the Neon. I think that was the first time I met you, but you had emailed us previously saying about doing your fundraiser. So you were kind of straight on it, weren't you, with the fundraising?
Well, I mean, what I try to do is try to raise as much as possible for you. And I actually basically donated a trip. I ran a fishing charter trip, and I just felt that the cause is such an important cause. And obviously we're going to court, we need money, and everything is money. And this is the problem, everything is money. People are stretched, they haven't got the money. But obviously if everyone contributes, then it's a very small effort for everyone. But not everyone knows about this. So obviously I've tried to, in my little bit, try to mention this to as many people as possible. And I have raised funds from the people that I've mentioned it to, because they'll happily donate, a couple of quid here and there. So, I mean, I've raised a little bit of money from the charter, and I think you've got to invest your money wisely. If we don't invest money into just and, good causes, then what is the point? If we don't look after our kids, we don't have a future. So we need to invest the shirt off our backs for our kids, because what world are we leaving for them? If we don't think that there's nothing wrong, then we're not gonna leave a good world for them. If we let this go on, then what's coming next? If we don't stand up to this, what's next on the agenda? We'll just keep absorbing whatever gets thrown out, And I'm sorry, but we need to make a stand. We want a nice, clean, happy world where kids are left on their own. They're not messed around with. They're not abused. They're not psychologically challenged. At that age, kids need to be left alone. And we know this. We're adults. We understand this. And we basically need to raise as many funds as we can to fight this. And if we don't win, we keep raising money and we keep fighting this. Simple.
Absolutely.
We keep exposing what's going on, and we keep on going.
I totally agree. We don't give up until we win, because this fight is far too important. Well, Sal, I've got to say, you've been absolutely fantastic tonight. Thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on. I knew you'd be a natural in front of the camera.
Well, it's always a bit nerve-wracking, but I mean, I watch your lives, and you're the guys with the courage, because you're standing in front of people, and you're also taking abuse, and you're solid. You know, your performance is solid. You're taking abuse even from passerbys, and you just brush it off, and you crack on, and you just keep going. So I mean, you're the real heroes here. You know, we all try to help and contribute, but you're doing the work.
Oh, well,
and you've got us behind the scenes to support you anyway. At least we're there to support you.
You know, you guys, with you guys with us, I won't say behind us, you're actually shoulder to shoulder with us. That's how we carry on. You know, it's all about uniting together. So
exactly.
Yeah, we need you and you need us. It's about sort of us all leaning
united on we stand, divided we fall. We cannot be divided on this subject. We cannot be divided on this.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much, Sal. I'm going to pop you off now and bring on our next guest. So thanks for joining us, and I'm sure we will see you soon. You coming down to the court on Tuesday?
Yes, I will be at the court. I will bring friends, people of good cause, and also I will see you Saturday as well.
Oh, fantastic. See you tomorrow.
Exactly. Yes, tomorrow.
Take care.
Perfect. Okay, take care. Nice to talk to you.
Bye. Okay, that was really lovely to speak to Sal, and he's got, obviously he's got so much knowledge on this subject now, because he's been following us for, well, he said about 6 months. So, you know, he comes to all our presentations as well. It's really nice, actually, when you see people come again and again, because the more you come to these presentations, the more bits of knowledge that you're going to pick up every time, because it's actually a minefield, you know, this sex education. And what we do find as well, people, you know, I get messages saying, can you just explain to me what this is? You can't explain it in a text. There is literally years and years of knowledge that goes into this. And although we've got quite a lot of information on our website, you've still got to take the time to look into it. So this is what we urge people to do their own research. You can check out our resources, but you have to spend the time to look into exactly where this education is coming from and what the intention is behind it. So anyway, I'm going to bring on Paige now, the lovely Paige.
Hi.
Hello, Paige. How are you doing, lovely?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Really good. Thank you so much for coming on tonight.
That's okay, no problem.
So, Paige, just tell us a little bit about yourself, because our viewers won't know, may not, well, some of them will, because you've obviously been involved, but some of them won't.
Okay, so my name is Paige Nicole Ryan. I am a mum of 4 young children. You know, this education for me is absolutely crazy. To actually think that, you know, they're going to be teaching this to our children, you know, it's just mind-boggling how anyone can think that this is actually acceptable to teach to young children. You know, I've got a 4, 6 and 7-year-old, and this is really going to affect them. And, you know, at the end of the day, as a mum, it should be my right to say I don't want them involved in this type of education, this RSE. It's not that I'm against, you know, some form of sex education. You know, I think it's important for girls, for example, to know about periods and things like that. But at such a young age, I just think that they don't need to, you know, be told everything. You know, the lesson content that's, you know, planned is crazy. It's actually really scary. Half of it, as a mum, I don't even know. I had to actually research some of these words and this content that that they're going to be displaying. So
that was exactly the same as me when I first started looking at some of the terms that was used in the other countries, including Scotland. And I had to do a Google search, and I thought, now come on, I'm fully educated in sex. I understand exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that some of the terms, they were actually quite vulgar as well. I'm thinking, no, there's no way you should be teaching any school age child these, or anyone. I don't want to see it myself. Do you know what I mean? And now they want to teach.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't think people actually really understand just how serious this is. I've spoken to a few people in our local area, and as far as they're aware, it's just going to be the same education that children have received, for lots of years. When in actuality, this is completely different. This is embedded in every single subject across the curriculum. There is no parental opt-out, and it's from age 3. That alone should concern parents. The fact that, they don't even have a say-so in their own child's, education. That's crazy to me. The government hasn't taken into consideration anyone's religious views or any of their values whatsoever. I just find it, as a parent, really scary to know that I don't even have a say.
No.
So,
I know, like people have said as well, like I just said to Salvatore about schools are drip fed information. Anyway, so a lot of schools don't know the extent. But the other thing as well, people have should be aware of, there is a court case pending on the, coming up now. The Welsh government are not going to come in all guns blazing with all the information. So, if you're a teacher or a parent, you think, this isn't that bad. It's going to get worse, because it has got worse in all the other countries. They're not going to come in with everything, because they know that we'll use that against them in court.
Yeah,
so
I think that is also one thing that a lot of parents are mentioning, is the fact that, they haven't really seen this curriculum come into effect in their schools. And like you just mentioned, they're not going to bring it in yet, because they know we've got a judicial review on the 15th and 16th of this month. And, they don't want to give us the ammunition that we need. But I think a lot of parents need to actually research into this. All of this information is on government websites. And they're trying to say that this is misinformation. How is it misinformation if it's on your websites? That's what's really confusing me, that parents aren't taking the time to actually look into this. This is something that's going to affect their children long term. Kids don't need to be knowing about this kind of stuff. And when it comes to the the gender ideology, I don't think that kids even need to know about that at this age at all. To me, there are 2 genders, male and female. That is it. And as a mum, I should be able to say if I want my children to learn anything else. And I don't want them to learn anything else. That is scientific. That is fact. I don't want my children to one day come home and say, "Mum, I'm a cat," because they're not a cat.
And
I want you to, they're never going to be that.
If they said, if they said they were a cat, you'd know it was just them, just being wild and imaginative. You wouldn't encourage them to live like a cat.
No, exactly.
It's absolutely insane.
And I think when you're an adult and you are able to make informed decisions on your own life, well then, that's fine. I think people are quite accepting of that. A lot of transgender people just want to live their lives peacefully, and they don't want to be in the spotlight. And I feel like a lot of people are using this now to boost this kind of content, pushing this content onto young children. This is an adult topic. This isn't something that children should even be discussing. They don't even think about things like that, do they? They don't think about gender. So this is something we're forcing on them.
It shouldn't even be on their radar. Now, I know there's been, like, all over the country now, there's this drag queen story hour. This is meant to be in the name of acceptance. They say exactly the same about the RSE. It's all linked. If people sort of look into it, it is all linked. Now, there are parents happily taking their children down to see the drag queen. Drag queens are adult entertainers, full stop. I've got nothing against people making a living out of being a drag queen, but you stick to the adult audience. Now, what we're finding now, these drag queens are coming to libraries, and the councils are paying for these drag queens to come there. So that's our taxpayers' money. So again, it's a government incentive to get these drag queens in all these libraries. For children as young as 5, I know where the girls were saying actually sometimes they're actually younger than 5, but by the by, these kids shouldn't be in front of these drag artists or these drag queens. Who, you know, it has been proven, you go onto their sites, they are inappropriate. Some of them have actually got inappropriate tendencies towards children, and it's there on their sites.
They do.
It's
really worrying, the fact that they are saying openly, these drag queens are saying that their target audience is, you know, young children. Why is that? You know, children are pretty accepting anyway. You know, if my children see anybody, they are kind, they are loving, they embrace everyone. You know, that's how kids naturally are. So I don't see why we actually need to try and enforce this onto children. And let's not forget, when these drag queens are actually going into these libraries, the clothing that they are wearing isn't appropriate either. You know, and just seeing some of the people actually taking their children, they are using that, you know, as just trying to say that, you know, they want their children to be accepting, and that's why they're taking their children to go and see these drag queens. And I just find it absolutely bizarre, because if they actually take a deep look at their children, they will see that they are already loving and accepting, you know.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Children will not be nasty unless they're you know, unless they see it and they're told.
It's learned behavior.
Normal, you know, but children, as you said, they are accepted. Now, another thing they say about this RSE is to stop bullying. They want people, you know, with the acceptance thing. But children will not bully, because there's a lot of people coming out saying, you know, they grew up, they were gay, and a lot of people picked on them because of, you know, they got bullied, which is awful. I don't think anybody should be bullied, you know.
No,
but why are teachers, or why are schools not just putting through a zero tolerance of bullying, full stop? And it doesn't matter, like if you're bullied for being, like, say you hated being short, bullied for being short, tall, colour of your hair, your sexuality, the colour of your skin, where you're from, the way you look, whatever you're bullied for, it's horrible for you as a person. So it makes
definitely.
They try to make out all the time, well, for gay people it was worse. No, it's worse for anybody who's bullied. We do know, you know, people with additional needs as well. A lot of them get bullied, and we do know about one poor young boy who actually took his own life because he was bullied so bad. So bullying is an issue, but let's make it all about the gay and the trans community. No, it's about everybody. Everybody should accept themselves for a start, accept other people. We're all unique. That's what they need to be saying. They don't need to be saying that you can change your gender to this, this, and this, and you don't have to be a gender if you don't want to. Well,
that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it? You know, when kids actually do transition or go into that, you know, they can't ever go back. You know, when they're actually on these hormones, if their voice deepens, that's it. There's no turning back from that, you know. And, you know, they're being told that by using these hormones, that it's just going to pause their puberty. It's just a pause. But it's not just a pause. It actually stunts their puberty. And, you know, they're allowing this, you know, it's crazy. And like I said, you know, children are just naturally kind and caring anyway. And if parents actually instill that into their children's behavior, in the way that they live, then, you know, they wouldn't be bullying in schools. Everybody's children would be kind and caring and understanding. And unfortunately, I don't think, you know, all parents necessarily do teach that. So you're always going to get bullying, no matter what, you know, faith, religion, no matter where you come from. Unfortunately, there's always going to be people that are bullied until parents actually instill that in their kids.
And the thing, and you know, this is why, like, you know, I've got nothing against you know, schools teaching about anti-bullying things. I've got nothing against that part of it, you know, being kind.
Me neither.
You know, But you don't have to legislate against, you don't have to legislate for that, don't you? Kindness and empathy, that should just be a given anyway. I thought schools just taught that anyway, you know, it's just as a
I think, you know, when you actually read the RSE code, that's what it starts off with, doesn't it? You know, teaching kindness, teaching empathy. And it's when you actually look further down, you see that they want to teach about gender ideologies. They want to teach about all these different things. And when you actually consider the fact that this is actually a form of CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, and when you consider that, you know, this is co-constructed by UNESCO, you know, Kinsey Institute and others, you realize that, you know, this is scary. This is, you know, this is backed by paedophiles, essentially. And I know they're trying to take away that word as well, that you can't actually use it. But unfortunately, that is literally what it is. Call a spade a spade.
Yeah, exactly right, Paige. You know, this people have said, well, you know, if it comes from a good place, then, you know, maybe it's going to be a good thing as education. But we know that it doesn't come from a good place. It comes from a very sinister place. The likes of, as you just mentioned there, Alfred Kinsey. We've got like the likes of Pomeroy, you know, who was these people. Check out CECUS as well, CECUS in America. I won't say what it stands for because I can't remember. But all these institutes have got and then we've got Educate and Celebrate as well in Ireland, Mermaids. Organisations have got a massive influence over your children's education, and they do not come from a good place. There is this in the press. We can actually look at their work. And, you know, especially when we look at people like the Kinsey Institute and CECUS, please research it if you have not researched it, because it is based on, it's based on paedophilia and the acceptance of paedophilia.
Yeah.
This is why we're so...
Yeah, sorry. I actually have researched all into this myself because, you know, as a mum to begin with, you don't actually think anything like this could even happen, you know. I think you're just in a kind of a state of shock when you find out about this kind of information. So for me, I wanted to actually research this myself and not just hear it from anybody else. So I actually, you know, looked at the Welsh government website, you know, I looked at the WHO, which in itself scared me, shocked me. I was actually crying by the end of reading it, you know, that they want to teach you know, if it feels good, then it's okay. You know, you do not always have to comply if someone touches you. What do they mean? You do not always have to comply. We should be teaching our children that if anybody tries to touch you, you say no, you know. So why are they even put that in there? They want to teach sex, the active sex from age 9. That's ludicrous to me. And the fact that this is all not even in ages, but stages, developmental stages, that's scary as well, because as you well know, every single child develops at different rates, even in one classroom. So how is a teacher going to accommodate for all these different children? It's not going to happen. So when you ask these questions, you can't actually get the answers back, because I don't really think they fully know how they're going to do it. And it's sad, you know, that teachers are being put into this position, you know.
It is.
It is sad.
Like, Paige, how have you found like the response around your area then, like to this? Like, you know, have you spoken, like I presume I know that you have been out, haven't you, raising awareness? How have you found like the response from, you know, sort of the people there?
So a few people have actually been on board to, you know, research themselves, because I always say, don't believe me, do the research. All this evidence is from government websites. You know, don't believe me. And, you know, some people have actually been quite responsive. However, other people haven't. A lot of people, I think, are too scared to even, you know, research or look into it, because then it makes it real, right? You know, they don't want it to be real.
They don't want it to be real because it means they're going to have to try and do something about it. And I think there's a lot of fear around people at the moment, isn't there? People are fearful. They either won't believe it, as you said, they'll just refuse to believe it, or they're just too scared to do anything about it. So, you know, and this is when people are fearful, this is when the government and those who want to control us win. So that's when we have to, you know, keep fighting, stay together on this issue, and just rise against it. You know, we've got no other choice.
Yeah, definitely, I agree, 100%.
So I won't leave you too much longer because I can hear you've got your kids there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just touch on the fundraiser, because your children were involved in this fundraiser as well. So what did you get up to with that?
So basically, I told my kids, obviously, what the fundraiser was going to be for, you know, in little bits of detail. And they actually come up with their own ideas. So my eldest and one of my youngest, not my youngest anymore, they have actually done sponsored scoots all around their local park. And then my middle son, he actually did a sponsored bike ride. And for him, that was absolutely huge because he has only just learned to ride his bike. So for him, yeah, that was absolutely amazing. And they did so well, honestly. At times when they actually struggled, they didn't give up, you know. So for me as their mum, I was just in awe of them, you know, their determination to see it through. You know, they knew that they made a commitment to people, that people were sponsoring them, and they actually did it. So I was over the moon. I was so proud of them.
Oh, that's incredible. That's really good.
Yeah.
And in the half term, and the weather was absolutely abysmal in the half term. Did you manage to get some dry spells for them to do that?
Yeah, so we were actually really lucky. So we waited until Friday that week. And yeah, it was actually really sunny, which was fab. And we did have a few people come to see them as well. So that actually really gave them the motivation to carry on when, you know, it got tough. But I will say, my youngest, he was absolutely amazing. He went around that park, the whole entire park, 6 times. So that's what they were going to do. And he didn't stop at all to have a drink or anything. He just did it. So yeah, it was great.
Well, how fantastic is that, Paige? You know, obviously, you know, you've got the kids out, they enjoyed themselves, and they were raising money as well for their future, to protect their future. So, you know, and this is what we're encouraging people to do. Get out, do things, because children it's not like, you know, years and years ago, you know, back in my days, all we did was go out. But now,
yeah, they don't anymore, do they?
Yeah, it's like children are, you know, they're tied to their iPads, computers, phones. So it's nice to get them out, you know, you get that bit of good weather, and obviously, you know, they enjoy their scootering and biking. So that's brilliant.
They do.
And nice that you had some supporters coming down as well. That's
yeah,
really
they were. Yeah, they were absolutely amazing. One woman in particular, Jane, she was absolutely fabulous. You know, when my son actually fell off his bike one time, you know, she was really, you know, aiding him on. When my other son fell off his scooter because he was going too fast, you know, she was just absolutely fab. So yeah, it was amazing to actually see them want to participate in something that's so important. Just reaffirms to me that I must be doing something right with my kids, you know, raising them to have their own opinions, their own thoughts. And I didn't force them into this, you know, this was something that they willingly wanted to do. So yeah, it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, Paige, that's lovely. It's really nice to hear. And, you know, I know when we had our last demo as well, we were talking about, you know, some people doing the challenges. When I got up to speak, I think, well, you came up and said a little bit, didn't you, about your challenge?
Yeah.
And then at the end then, we had lots of children, because some of them parents bring their children to the demos. We don't give any explicit information when we're doing the demonstrations. But lots of the kids were coming up afterwards saying about, you know, one boy said he wants to do a 5-mile run. He was about, I don't know how old he was. He only looked about 12. There was another girl that said that she was going to do some scootering. Another girl said that she wanted to do an ice bucket challenge. So, you know, the children excited, don't they,
It's
when
been-
it comes to...
Yeah, it's been amazing to see the community of Wales all come together for one common cause. You know, from adults to children, everybody's doing their part. And I really urge and really encourage everybody that's listening to this to really research into this. This is happening. This education is already happening in Scotland, in England, parts of Ireland. You know, if you think this isn't going to come to Wales, you are unfortunately mistaken. So yeah, please just give every penny you possibly can to this fundraiser. I couldn't think of anything more important right now. This is for our children at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Paige, and thank you for your time tonight and coming on and speaking with me. Really appreciate
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
I will see. Are you going to be around next week for the course? I know you've got children, haven't you? So it's probably a bit more difficult.
Obviously, you know, with my boys, they're a bit crazy, a bit all over the place. So as long as I can kind of, you know, keep them together, then yeah, I'll be fine. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow anyway.
Oh, lovely. Okay, I'll see you at the demo. Great.
Yeah.
Lovely. See you then, Paige. Thank you so much.
That's okay. Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank you. Oh, lovely. So that was Paige, who has been an incredible supporter for, well, I didn't actually ask when she started, actually, but it was quite a while. So very much appreciate the lovely Paige for coming on tonight. Just a couple of reminders. We've got a demonstration tomorrow. It starts at 2 p.m. Usual place outside the Cardiff train station, the front entrance. So please come down with your friends, your families, your banners. We will be in the usual spot. It's also rugby international, there's a rugby game going on as well. So we will be hoping to go into the Cardiff City Centre after the demonstration to give out some leaflets there, raise awareness with the rugby fans as well. So big day tomorrow. Obviously then Tuesday and Wednesday of next week will be the court. We are urging everybody, if you can, get outside that court. It will be starting. We don't know the exact time to start. We anticipate it'll be about 10:30, but we'll let you know as soon as we know the exact time it starts. We want to fill Cardiff out with supporters because we want to show the courts and we want to show everyone that we are all watching this case. If you haven't opted to register to watch the court case virtually, I believe it would be too late now because your name had to be registered by 4 p.m. today. So I am hoping that a lot of you did manage to register in time, so you'll be able to watch the court case then remotely. Again, that's really important to have a lot of people in the public gallery online because, again, the courts will be watching. Just a couple of other things as well. If your children got involved in the challenges, the sponsored challenges like Paige's children, please do get in touch and let us know what your children's names are and the challenges they did, because we're going to be doing certificates for them. We'll be giving out the certificates at the demos if the children are available at the demos, or another time, then we'll make sure we get those certificates and medals as well. So please do get in touch either via the WhatsApp groups or on this page, or you can email us on our website as well. Just let us know, who your children's name, so we can make sure we get certificates for every child, because all children like certificates, don't they? Just a reminder as well about the WhatsApp groups. If you're not already involved in one of our WhatsApp groups, please do get in touch to join. We've got one WhatsApp group for each local authority, bar one. I think it's Flintshire that we haven't got, but for everyone else, we have got a local authority WhatsApp group. So please do join one of those. You can gain a bit of information from them. Also, it's a way of leaning on each other as well for support. So really, really important that you can speak to people in your area to make sure that you remain confident and that you know that you're not the only person in your area that is fighting this. So I am going to shoot off now. Thank you so much for watching. Massive thank you to our two incredible guests tonight. And I'm hoping that I will see a lot of you tomorrow at the demonstration.